What's going on, people? How's everyone doing? So I said that I was going to start doing story time, little mini stories of my life. I don't really talk about much of my experiences. I should do. Maybe people can learn lessons from them, or maybe just people like that sort of stuff. So I'm going to start off. I looked on the voting, and it looked like the majority voted for the time I found a dead body. So let's get into it. So basically, what happened was, if you've seen my podcast, or any of my podcasts, and you know my story, you'll know that I put my addiction in two halves. The first 5 years I thought were, I was learning how to make money. Really, I was reckless. Basically, I just didn't know what I was doing, and then the second 5 years, I just literally became a professional shoplifter, and I was good at it, and I made a lot of money, and that's what I'd done. Obviously, I had my run-ins as well during them times, but the first 5 years, I just, every day I'd wake up looking for that. Like, the second half of it, I always woke up safe. I had my fix every morning before I went about my day. The first 5 years was hectic. I'd wake up every morning clucking. I'd scrimp enough to get money for, I'd make good money, but, I'd smoke all my drugs in the night. I wouldn't leave myself with anything the next day, and I'd struggle getting out there. So, in the first half of my addiction, what I used to do was, I was a blagger, a tapper. I used to go to uni, South Wales in Treforest, Newport, Swansea, Bath, Westminster, Bristol, Cardiff, and I used to pretend I was a student lost and basically blag people for money. You could say it's like begging, but weren't really sat down with a cup. I was dressed really smart, had books on me, laptop on me, fake student card, and I used to go around like that. So what happened this time was, I woke up late a day. And when you wake up late, you're not really going to travel far. So anytime I tapped or blagged in my own city was the times I was waking up late and couldn't get out of the city, basically. And this one time I woke up, I must have woke up about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was rattling. But every time I went out, I had to make sure that every night I wouldn't go home unless I made at least 50-60 quid, because I wanted to smoke heroin and crack. I wanted to have the white and the B, I'd done that every night regardless. So I went to town, started hanging around the train station and started blagging people for money. I made about 30 quid, and then because I was rattling, what I would do then was I'd go to like a public toilet somewhere, I'd smoke that, then that's me sorted. So then I'd go out again and make the money for the night before I went home. So I made 30 quid, went and scored down the docks, come back into town. Docks is literally a 5-minute walk from the city centre. Went back into town, used my gear, and then it was a Thursday night. It was a student night, and on a student night, some of the clubs are always popping. So what I used to do was on a Thursday night, I'd go near the clubs where the students would be, and there's a place called Live Lounge in Cardiff, which is not far from Greyfriars Road. It's not far from the castle, all that area, and near Live Lounge, you've got a megabus stop where people get off the megabus from London and places like that. So I could blag students, and I could also blag people who were just getting off the bus, people who wouldn't, know me, So that's what I started doing. I started going outside there. I rung up a dealer because apparently the boys in the docks were running short, so I had to go and score off someone else that night. I'd always make sure I'd be ringing dealers all the time, making sure you've got, because sometimes you'd go there and they wouldn't have no food and you'd be fucked. So I patterned up someone on the other side of town to come and see me after I made my money. So I hung around there, started tapping. Now, by the Live Lounge and the megabus, you've got the Capitol Tower, which is one of the biggest buildings in Cardiff, and across from the road you've got the Hilton Hotel, and across from that then there's like a little parade or whatever you call it, like where like there's like a fountain and stuff, and you've got the Kingsway building, which is next to it, and that's where I was near there. So I started making money, and I think like I made about 25 quid so far. It was getting late now. It was about 10:30. There was a lot of students around, a lot of people, you know, not giving me anything, blagging, trying to blag him, nothing happening. What happened was then, and I never stayed, I never left that position. Where I was, I stayed there. Next thing you know, this girl just managed to like come up to me, was like, oh, what's the matter, I told her. She was like, oh, I'll tell you what, come clubbing with me instead. And I was like, no, I gotta get home. You know, kept my blag up and stuff because I didn't want to go nowhere. I just wanted to get my money for drugs and go. But I'm telling these that I'm trying to get back home to my uni halls in Treforest. I need to get a taxi because the trains have stopped running. Anyway, 10-15 minutes later, she comes back. She weren't allowed in the club. She was too intoxicated. So, first of all, she said to me, just come back to mine and, you know, I'll get you a bus in the morning. And then it got to a point where I was just refusing. And she said, right, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you asking people for money. Like, I'm going to help you get this 20 quid because I told her I needed to get 20 quid. So we started asking people near there. Now, bearing in mind, I never left this spot. Remember that. I never left this fountain spot. I was there the whole time. I was there for about an hour and a half. Next thing you know, she goes, let's go round by Oceana. Now, Oceana's round the corner, and that's busy as well. So we started walking down Oceana, managed to get 20 quid. As I guess the 20 quid, she was like, oh, why don't you come back and ask for the drink? I was like, no. She went, all right, I'm going home now. Can you walk me this way? So what I does, there's a block. And so I'm at the fountain, and then around the block, there's Oceana. And if you go back around, as if you was coming back on yourself, she could walk towards us uni halls. So I walked that way with her, just wanted to get back and score now, but I wanted to pretend I was going home. So to get a taxi, so I said, I'm going to walk this way. She went, I'll tell you what, I'll walk you to the taxi. I want to make sure you're in safe. I don't know if she thought I was blagging or not, but she wanted to do that. So we walked back around to by the fountains, because by the megabus there was the taxi rank. So we walks around, she's got my arm, she's linked my arm, all drunk and we're walking towards the train station, towards the fountains again, and the taxi rank. As we get around, we turns around back onto the fountains, the Kingsway buildings there. She's just talking gibberish to me. I've got my head down. I just want to leave this girl now, because I just want to go and score. I'm walking like that, and as I guess the spot where I was standing originally, there's just a long trail of really thick dark blood. And I've looked like that, and I've looked towards the side of me to by the Kingsway building. There's like scaffolding on the building, and there's like a little gap between the scaffolding and the actual building. And I've looked between the gap, and there's a man, and he's face planted. It's not like side. It's not like you could see any of his face. His face was just planted, like nose first. But it was weird because I don't know. I just knew that something was up straight away. First of all, there was too much blood there. Second of all, he just weren't moving. I think when they say you know, innit? So what happened was, his legs were twisted. His legs were quite twisted. His arms were one was one way, one was the other way, spread, and his head was straight down. He had I remember what he was wearing. He had this bright silver luminous puffy jacket. He had these skeleton bright green gloves on, some trousers and boots, and he was bald, shaved head. And the first thing that came to my mind was he's been beat up. He's been beat up. But it was just so quick when it happened. Anyway, the girl said to me, shall I check his pulse? And I said, yeah. So she's gone down to check his pulse, fair play to her. And she's just looked up to me and gone like that. And I knew anyway he was probably dead. But when she done that, I just knew this guy is dead. And then there was students trickling behind us because they were still going to the club. And I'm like, there's a dead body here. Someone ring an ambulance. These fucking students were turn him over. They tried to turn him over. As soon as they'd done that, I just ran. You can call me a shithouse, whatever. I just knew the guy was dead already, and I did not want to see that face. The face was planted. It was like he had no face, basically. There was blood everywhere. And yeah, when they turned him over and I kind of looked away, they were screaming really bad, and so it was obviously a bad sight. So what I done was, I forgot to tell you, but I was wanted by the police anyway, for breaches and stuff at this time. So I didn't want to stay there. Number one, I'm a heroin addict. Number two, I just want to get my stuff and go and score before the dealer turns his line off. Number three, I'm wanted by the police. So I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, no way. So I started like walking away quickly, and the girl I was just like, come back, come back, come back. I'm like, what for? She was like, you gotta stay here, the police, you're a witness. I went, fuck off. And I fucked off. And I don't know if that's bad or not. I don't know. So what I done was I went straight over, across straight over the fountain, straight to the Hilton Hotel. I went to the desk in the Hilton Hotel, and I told him, I said, listen, there's a person over there, he's dead. He's, you know, his face is all fucked, blood everywhere, hasn't got a pulse, he's dead. Can you ring an ambulance, please? They rang an ambulance. I then left. Basically what I did was I stayed around the corner and hid, and I just watched and waited. Within 10-15 minutes, there's police, riot vans, ambulances. There was loads of people surrounding it, screaming and all that shit. And that was that. I then walked further down to the castle, rang my dealer. My dealer drove, because he was going to meet me there, remember. He come that way and come through, and he went, fucking hell, someone's died down there, they've cornered it off. Blah, 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 blah. So I knew for certain he was dead. Anyway, I went home, just fucking traumatized from the whole thing. Like, I just found this dead body, like, and, you know, I got the girl to, like, check his pulse, and then these other people come, chained him over. It was bizarre. Anyway, I looked on Miles Online the next day, because I was worried that, like, they check CCTV. If the guy be beaten up, they probably want to speak to me and whatever else, and it said on the news that the man had jumped to his death. He basically, a 50-year-old or a 54-year-old man, if I can remember correctly, jumped to his death, and that man jumped off the Kingsway building, and it's a very, very, very sad thing to witness, and you know, rest in peace to that man, whoever he was. But the thing I keep thinking about in my head, and the thing that keeps playing, and it's still in my mind now, is I was standing there for a good hour and a half, right where he jumped. I was there, and we only left to go around the block. 5-10 minutes it took us. Literally walked off, asked them for 20 quid, they give us 20 quid, walk back around, and he's there. And it makes me wonder, was that man watching me? Was he like looking down at me and thinking, come on, move, because I want to jump? Like, because sometimes I think, did he do it already and I just didn't notice it? But no way, I would have noticed him. I would have heard it, because it's a very high building. It's about 25 stories, 20 to 25 stories high. So I'm thinking, like, he's probably looking at me, waiting for me to fuck off. This guy asking for money, fuck off, I want to jump. We've gone round and he's there, and it's just, it always haunts me, like, you know, if I could have stayed there, maybe, would he have, like, thought I ain't doing it? I don't know. But it's just like, yeah, that was a mad one. That was a mad one. And I've encountered a few stories like that where I've been the last person with someone, or I've witnessed something, and it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And that's just the life you live. I put myself in that position that night. You know, no one should have a business in town blagging people for money, for drugs. But that's what happens, and I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe in the right place at the right time, you know, just about leaving, you know. He could have jumped and landed on me. I don't know. It's crazy. But I'll always remember that. It'll always be etched in my memory. That'll be something that in the back of my mind. It played on my mind for a long time. And I'll never forget that image in my head of the man just splattered on the floor. Like, you know, it's fucking terrible. But yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. If you want to hear more stories like this, I've got plenty of them. And yeah, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I should do more stories like this. Stay central.